What's up YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how to install a front sway bar on an R56 Mini Cooper S. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and stick around. You're going to want to watch this whole video. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is get your car up on jack stands, such as I've done, and also get your front wheels off. Okay, from under the car, you're going to want to remove your V-band clamp. It's a 16mm bolt. You're going to want to use a deep socket. I'm using this electric ratchet. First I'm going to break it loose and just press the button. Now I'm just going to tap it with something until it pops loose, just to vibrate it kind of. That little piece pops out. And you can just go ahead and pull the bolt all the way out. What you're going to want to use is some sort of plier that when you squeeze it, it opens. That way, all you got to do is put it between these two holes, squeeze it open as far as you can, and pop it off like that. Alright, now you're going to want to spray some WD-40 inside of here, just so that when you go to pop this off, it comes out easy. Do that on both sides, on both these exhaust hangers. Okay, to remove these exhaust hangers, you just want to get them to as far forward as possible on your exhaust, like that. Then take a set of channel locks and you're going to put them over top the bolt like that and just squeeze. Or not the bolt, but the exhaust hanger. And just squeeze, and it'll pop right out. And take your other hand and push on your exhaust so you can actually get the hanger off. Pop those out. This actually came out with my bare hand. Usually use the channel locks on the if they're being stingy. Alright, next you're going to want to take this panel off right here. You're going to have 6 bolts. I only have 4 because I've had mine off before. There's one here. You'll have one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Like I said, I just have the 4 corners. It's a 10mm. Mine has washers on this side, yours won't. I have washers there to space it because I have an aftermarket exhaust that I didn't want to hit. Those are my spacers. You're not going to have those. But the bolt looks like that. It's 10mm. Take off this last one. Again, for these exhaust hangers, you're going to want to spray some WD-40 on there. Either do it on the top one or the bottom one. I'm going to do the bottom one. Do that on both sides. Now you're going to want to take your channel locks. This is where it actually works. This is where I learned this trick. Put it right on the end of that. And just squeeze it. And it'll pop it over that little lip. And once it's over the lip, you can slide it out the rest of the way. It comes off that easy. You're going to want to do the same thing on this hanger right here. I'm not going to make you watch it, but do the same thing. Alright, once you've pulled both of those off, your exhaust will be all the way on the ground. Go ahead and remove the whole exhaust from out from under your car. I just pulled mine far enough back so it's not going to be in the way of my subframe. So as you can see, it ends right there. My subframe is up here. Okay, next you're going to want to remove your torque arm. It's just these two bolts right here, pretty simple. If you want to know how to install these torque arm bushing inserts, I have a video on that. Just go ahead and search my channel page. Alright, both these bolts are 16 millimeter. I'm going to use a ratcheting breaker bar to get them loose. If I can. That one's loose. Get that one loose. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and pull them out the rest of the way with this electric ratchet. Now I should be able to just pull my torque arm. Just pull it out, pull down, just pull it forward. It comes right out. Now I'm going to work from the back, from these 3 bolts right here. There's 3 on each side. I'm going to go ahead and remove those with a 16 millimeter wrench or 16 millimeter socket on a 2-foot breaker bar with a 1/2 inch drive to make it a little bit easier. Oh, go ahead and break all those loose. Alright, I'm going to break those loose on both sides and take the bolts out. Alright, I'm going to take them out the rest of the way with this ratchet, electric ratchet, if I can. Just got to get it loose enough. I think I need to grab a fresh battery. Yeah, let me get a fresh battery. Alright, got a fresh battery. No, it doesn't want to work either. Alright, you're going to want to do that on both sides. Now from inside your car, you're going to want to remove this bolt right here on your steering. It's a 13 millimeter. I'm actually just going to loosen it and see if I can get it out, if it needs to come all the way out. And if it does, then I'll take it out later. But I'm going to go ahead and just get it pretty loose for right now. I think it's probably loose enough. I loosened it a little bit off camera too. Alright, now you're going to want to take this bolt out on your control. This is your control arm right here next to your subframe. And take that bolt out just so I can lower the whole subframe when it's time. I'm using it's a 16 millimeter socket on a 1/2 inch drive, 2 foot long breaker bar. And it actually turned really easy. I probably could have done it with a ratchet. I'm actually going to leave that in until I actually drop the whole subframe, just so it doesn't fall on my face because I don't have a jack under here yet. I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side right now too. Alright, next from under the car, you're going to want to remove your drive height sensor. It's a 8 millimeter. I just have it on this little 1/4 inch drive stock ratchet. And you're removing this just so you have access to the bolt above, I believe. Alright, I'm just going to pull it out of the way. Okay, so the bolt I just took out was right here. And this is your ride height sensor. It's the level of your headlights, I think. So you just move that out of the way so that you can get to your engine carrier nut, which is right. Let's see if I can get it right there. I'm pointing at it. My camera's not really focusing on it. Alright, now you're going to take either a 5/8 box end ratchet or a 16 millimeter, whichever you have. They're both pretty close to the same size, within like 2 thou, I believe. 2/1000ths of an inch. You're going to put the box end wrench underneath this bolt on your front sway bar end link, and then you're going to take a 5 millimeter Allen wrench, and you're going to hold you're going to put it in the Allen bolt that's in the center, like I have it now, and then you just turn it like that. I already broke it loose. If you have a ratchet wrench, it's a lot better. I don't. And that's how you loosen that's how you remove your end links. I'll make you watch the whole thing, but that's how you remove your end links off of your front sway bar. Once it gets loose enough, you can pull it off by hand. It's a little castle nut. Go ahead and pop it out of the front sway bar, and then do the same thing on the other side, on the other end link. The reason I specify to use a box end wrench and not an open end wrench is just so you don't strip this bolt. If you can do it without stripping it, by all means, you can use an open end wrench. Box end wrench is just safer. Now if you look straight up where you moved your ride height sensor, you could see the engine carrier. So what you're going to do is take a 16 millimeter socket on an extension. Mine's about 1 foot long, and I'm using a 1/2 inch breaker bar. I'm going to break that loose. And once you get it loose, you can go ahead and take it out the rest of the way with the electric ratchet or whatever you have. That's the bolt right there. Go ahead and repeat that process on the other side of the car. Okay, with your subframe supported by a jack, let me show you, like this. I have it right, this is right in the middle of the subframe. I have this 2x4 with a jack holding it. Now I'm going to go ahead and take out these two bolts. That one just came out. I'm going to go to the other side and take the other one out. That's the one for the control arm. Now I'm going to see if this a subframe will lower any right now. Because it only needs to come down about 5 inches in order to do this job. So let's see if it will. Well, it came down, but all right. I'm only letting the jack down a little bit at a time so that when I pull on this, it doesn't just fall. All right, I think that's all of it. I think that's as much as it's going to come down. Let me see if that's enough. I'm going to go ahead and jack this back up until it's touching the subframe without lifting the subframe back up any, just so it supports it so nothing falls on me. Okay, the reason you need to drop your subframe is so you can get to these two bolts on your front sway bar. There's one here, and there's one right there, and that's where your bushing is. And there's one on the other side, or two on the other side. Right there, you can see them both. You need to remove those. So right now, mine appears to be low enough to where I can get to all those. It's a 17 millimeter. I need to get something strong enough so that I can get some leverage and pull it off. And I'll show you how to do that. Well, unfortunately, my bar will not fit over the edge of my wrench, so I'm just going to have to put the wrench on the bolt. See if I can get a better shot. Well, I'm just going to have to manhandle it. But I can get my hand onto my actual front sway bar and use that as a pry point and kind of pinch the wrench into it. There we go, and it actually came loose. I didn't think that was going to be that. Oh, maybe it didn't. Oh, it's moving a little bit, but there we go. Alright, now I'm just going to have to do that on all 4 bolts and pull the cap off of it. 2 bolts on each side. It's not 4 bolts, it's 2 on each side. So it is 4 total, but the other 2 are, way over here. I don't know if I mentioned it or not. These are 18 millimeter. And if you have a ratchet wrench that's 18 millimeter, this will go way faster. It's taken quite a while with this regular box end wrench. I know I said earlier it was a 17, but it is an 18. In fact, see, hopefully, it's an 18 millimeter. Make sure you use the right size. Well, if I put a 22 millimeter on the edge of my 18 like that, I can make an extension. I've actually been able to break it loose, but I can't get it on camera. But you can see it's actually turning right now. But let me get a better shot. All right, I got it somewhat loose to where I can move it by hand at least. So I think I can. Get a more pass with this 22. See if I can show you guys how I did it. And that got me probably 1/8 of a turn, which is all you really have. If you have a ratchet wrench, this would go a lot easier. Let's see if I can move it by hand now. Still a little tight. Try one more pass here. Make sure you have penetrating lube on these bolts too. Oh yeah, it's way looser now. There we go. Alright, I'm not gonna make you watch me take it out. I just want you to see how to break the bolt loose. Okay, so I went ahead and I jacked my subframe back up with the jack. I'm coming back in the car and I'm taking this bolt all the way out because I'm thinking that maybe that needs to drop a little bit more so I can get a little bit more room. If not, I'm gonna have to take more of the subframe apart, but I don't want to do that if I don't have to. Switch to my electric ratchet, see if that'll work. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lower it. I got the jack locked in place, but it's not supporting anything. But my subframe is pretty bolted up, so I just got to pop it out if it is being held up anywhere. Actually, it looks like I might have more room. Okay, I'm taking my jack handle, I'm putting it above the subframe and below the body, and I'm prying it down to get a little bit of room. And it's actually moving pretty good. I'm gonna try it on the other side. Alright, that gave me a lot more room. Now I think I have the 5 inches that it takes. With the subframe down as far as it is now, I can get probably a little more than 1/4 of a turn, when before I could only get 1/8 of a turn. So things are going a lot faster. It'd still be faster with the ratchet wrench. There's the bolt all the way out. If I wouldn't have taken that bolt out inside the car and got this a little bit further, this bolt wouldn't have been able to come out all the way. It just barely clears as it is right now. There's the second bolt. There's got the front bolt on both sides, and I'll have it out. Okay, on the driver's side, I'm able to get the wrench on the 18mm like that, and then take the 22. Hold on, let me get a better shot. Okay, with the 18 on there, I can take the end of the 22, put it around like that, and use it. Make sure my 18's all the way on. And use it to extend the length of my 18-inch wrench. It's still pretty tight, but and you can get it turned like that. You just got to keep doing that until it comes out. Once you get the bolt all the way out like that, go ahead and pull it out. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and take the bracket out right now too. And that's the bracket. Okay, same thing on this side. I was able to get my 22mm wrench on the end of my ratchet like that. Probably not going to be able to do it with one hand. But let's see. Once you get it on there, you can go ahead There we go. Turn it. Mine was already loose because I already did it off camera, but that's how you break them loose. And then after you get it loose enough, you can just loosen it with the wrench. Again, this is a 18mm box end wrench that I'm using. And once you break it loose, you can get it turned. If you have a ratchet wrench though, I would really suggest using it, because I'm having to try a bunch of different ways to get this thing to turn, but it'll come out. Okay, and once you get it out far enough to where you can hand thread it, you can actually, it comes out pretty quickly after that. There's the last bolt. I'm going to go ahead and grab the bracket too. In here. It just pops off. There's nothing holding it. Okay, now from underneath the car, I'm going to grab onto the sway bar. I'm going to move it back towards the back end of the car as far as I can, anyway. Alright, now I'm going to start. Make sure you're on the right side of your control or your steering rack when you do that. I'm gonna try to push it all the way back and slide it out the back. I don't know if I can. A little bit of trouble getting around this connector for the lower control arm, but other than that, it's going pretty good. Let's see it on the other side. There we go. If I can get the passenger side forward just a little bit, I could get it all the way out. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm definitely going to push both sides back at the same time instead of just getting one far back like I just tried. I think if they go evenly back, the whole bar should come out the back. I'm using this jack handle just to give myself some room so I can slide the bar past these parts. Alright, I'm gonna need to get into a better position. Okay, so off camera, let me see if I can. I stuck. Hold on, let me get a better shot. I took it's right there. I put an extension through this hole right here on this control arm bracket and used that to wiggle that around to get the sway bar past it. Once I got the sway bar past it, now the whole thing just slides freely. That's gonna take 2 hands to pull it out. Okay. Now I'm just gonna rotate it and slide it all the way back. And it's out. So now I just gotta try to put the new one in. Okay, so I have my new one's 27 millimeters. My old one was 22.5. So this one is definitely gonna be a little bit harder to put in. But I'm gonna do it the same way. Slide back further. Now I just got to figure out how to get around these control arm brackets. What I'm going to try is get the side that I had the most trouble with first. Let's see. Alright, there's the first one. This is the one on the driver's side. That one went right in. That was pretty simple. So now go over top of my, point this. Go over top of this steering rack. That's that side. Alright, and that is in place. Let me grab my mounts. Okay, these are the brackets. You're going to reuse the stock ones with this kit that I have. I have the H&R 27mm from Way Motorworks. Oops. You want to put the bushing so the flat part is facing down. And you don't have to grease these with this kit. I don't know about all kits. Alright, I'm gonna grab one of the bolts that I took off. Alright, I'm just going to get that one started by hand. I'm going to put the one in that's in the front of, towards the front of the car. I'm just going to get it tight enough to where it doesn't come out so that I can do the other side. Alright. Okay, well, mine came with the bushings on the wrong side of the little thing that keeps the bushing in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and move that to the other side on both sides. With it being on the inside, it feels like it seems like the bar is the wrong size, but it's not. Okay, what happened was my bushing was on the inside. See this blue ring right here? My camera will focus. There's a blue ring right here. My bushings were on the inside of that. They need to be on the outside of that. So make sure you put your bushings on the outside, and the groove that's the opening in the bushing to put it on the bar is facing the front of the car. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and put this bracket on the passenger side. Just slides right over the bushing. I'm going to take one of these bolts, slide that bolt in. I'm just going to get it tight enough to where it doesn't come out again, like I did on the other side. put the one in the towards the front of the car in. Same thing, I'm just going to hand tighten that one too. Alright, now I'm just going to go through and snug all those up with a wrench. I'm not going to make you guys watch me do that because you guys already know how to do that. Then I'll show you the next step. Okay, the Bentley manual says to get these bolts, they're self-tapping, and it says to get them to 122 foot-pounds. If you go on NorthAmericanMotoring.com, there's a couple threads at least about the bolt that's on the bottom of the control arm, I believe, or the shock mount. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's also 122 pounds and it's self-tapping, and everybody says not to tighten it to 122 pounds because you're not tapping anything. So I'm not going to try to tighten it to 122 pounds. I'm just going to get it as tight as I can, the same way I loosened it. So with that being said, if you can get a torque wrench on there, I would definitely read those threads and see what everybody else says. There's not a lot of information on how to install a front sway bar, so I'm just putting that together. But the other bolt that you're going to want to put on is this. Goes onto your end link. This says to tighten to 41 foot-pounds. And again, I'm not using a torque wrench. I'm just going to tighten it as tight as I can, and then I'll retighten it later. But you're gonna want to hold that with a 5mm Allen wrench. Well, I'm gonna get them tighter than this, but this is how I tightened them. Just putting this 22mm on the end of this 18. But I'm gonna go through it and I'm gonna do all four. I'm gonna go through and snug them up again all right now, and then I'm gonna go through it again and tighten them down as tight as I can, and then I'm gonna go through it a third time, but it's actually gonna be a fourth time, and make sure they're all as tight as I can get them. Before I do that though, while I'm sitting here, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this, my end link. My end links, I'll get them as tight as I can, and then, you know, a week from now, I'll come back and I'll tighten them again. I'm also going to have to, since I went to a bigger sway bar, I'm going to have to adjust my rear sway bar to the stiffest setting, or I'll have quite a bit of understeer. Alright, I'm not going to make you watch me tighten that all the way, but I'm going to do that, what I just did on both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and snug up all those front sway bar brackets, all those 4 bolts that hold the sway bar brackets. And I'll get back to you after that for the next step. When I'm uploading this video, I'll go ahead and search for that thread on the self-tapping bolts and the torque specs, and I'll link those in the description so you won't have to search for it. Now that you got all those all the way torqued down as tight as you're going to get them, get your jack back under your subframe with the board on it and jack it up into place. Make sure everything lines up. Jacking it up, you can see mine's lined up now. I went inside the car, I made sure that the U-bolt for the steering knuckle was lined up in the rod, and then I jacked this jack up until my subframe acted like it wasn't going to go anymore, like it was hitting something. Then I lowered it maybe a ½ an inch and jacked it up again, and did that twice, and then when I did it the second time, it popped all the way in, and it looks totally lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting the bolts in right now. Alright, the first bolt I'm going to put in is the one right here, the engine carrier bolt. I don't know if it's called engine carrier, but the carrier bolt. It's in the 16mm. I'm just going to put it straight up into the hole. I'm not going to get it all the way tight because I'm going to get all the bolts in first. Then I'll go through and snug them in the same order I'm putting them in right now. Oops. I'm going to go put the other one in on the other side, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, the next step is to put this bolt, 16 millimeter, back in your control arm bracket. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the one in on the other side. That was just hand tighten and then just a little bit tighter with the ratchet. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, next you're going to want to take these bolts, put one in this hole, and one in this hole, and one in that hole. At this point I've already removed the jack that was holding the subframe, so it's not in my way. And these are lining up perfectly. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and get them pretty snug with the ratchet. Just a little snubby ratchet, obviously, so it's not going to get them that tight. I won't make you watch me tighten all those. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side too. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and install the torque arm. I'm just going to slide, it just slides right into place. All right. I'm probably gonna need a pry bar or something for this one. Okay, if I grab an extension and slide it into my control arm right here, I can actually push it far enough back, since I didn't torque anything down, to slide this bolt in. Now I'm going to grab my 16 millimeter, go ahead and tighten those. I'm not going to tighten them all the way. I'm just going to, well, I'm going to tighten them pretty tight. But I'll torque them down to spec after. I'll make you watch me tighten that one. Okay, the carrier bolt, the one that's directly above where you release, where you moved your ride height sensor, is torqued to 74 foot-pounds. a lot tighter first. I think that clicked. Yeah, all right. I'm going to tighten the one on the other side to 74 foot-pounds, then I'll go to the next step. All right, your control arm bolt also torques down to 74 foot-pounds. This just feels way tighter than 74 foot-pounds. I'm going to have to check it with a different torque wrench, but 74 foot-pounds. Okay, these last 3 bolts on each side, I did not know this. Like, I haven't found this information anywhere, but these are actually torque to yield bolts. So you torque them down to 44 foot-pounds, and then you turn them an additional 90 degrees. But you do that with brand new bolts. You don't reuse the bolts. So I'm going to order some new bolts right now from probably Way Motorworks if they have them. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tighten them down though, because until I do that, I might still have to drive my car. These bolts, I don't know if you remember when I took them out, they were not that tight when I took them out. So, maybe this subframe's been off before and somebody didn't replace the bolt. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to replace them. Okay, your torque arm torques to 80 foot-pounds. I don't know what's going on with this torque wrench, but it doesn't seem to be accurate right now. Let me tighten this all the way down. Wrench first. There we go. All right. Okay, your ride height sensor torques to 51 inch-pounds. I'm just going to tighten it. Okay, when you're putting it on, there's a little hook that actually goes into this little hole right here. And that's going to make sure that it's in the right position when you tighten it down. If you don't do that, it's not going to be accurate. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and hang the back part of my exhaust up. Just going to line it up at the hole. We'll try to just slide it in. It's not in all the way, but I'm going to try to get both sides. I'm going to go ahead and spray some WD-40 in there just to make it go in a little bit easier than the other side did. Also, the front of my exhaust is lined up with my downpipe, so that should help too. Go. And that's on. Okay, again, I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 inside these exhaust hangers. Alright, now I'm going to push my exhaust back as far as I can and try to slide one or both of these brackets on, these exhaust hangers on. Well, obviously I'm going to need to get them both on, but there's one. There's two. Alright. The WD-40 makes it go on way easier. Okay, so I just took my exhaust and pushed it in there. If you have a washer, put your washer in there. My exhaust, or my downpipe is designed not to use a washer, so I just use this metal V-band clamp. Oops. Try from the other side. Sometimes these go on real easy, sometimes they don't. And that went on pretty easy. So then you want to take the bolt, place it towards the passenger side of the car. Then you take this little washer with the V in it, and you want the part that's, you see the rounded part on there, you want that to be facing in. so it fits next to the V-band clamp. Then take this bolt and go ahead and hand tighten that. Also, you're going to want to rotate this so it's up so it doesn't get caught on anything. Okay, the torque spec on this is 18 foot-pounds plus or minus 2 foot-pounds, so anywhere from 16 to 20. Again, I'm just going to tighten it. It's definitely tighter than 18, but I don't want an exhaust leak. Alright. Okay, this bolt that goes to your U-joint, you're supposed to torque it to 21 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna get mine pretty damn tight. Also, make sure your steering wheel is straight, along with make sure your rotors are straight too. Oops. Slow. Alright, I had to switch to my electric ratchet. Alright, well, I'm not going to make you watch me tighten that all the way. Now don't forget to put this thing on. It's a 10mm bolt. It's not structure, or it's not supportive, so I just tighten them. You'll have 6 bolts. I only have 4. I'm not going to make you watch me tighten all 4 of them though. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and torque that down to 21 foot-pounds. If you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.